a very warm welcome. I hope that you're not tired after having a late night last night. Are you all okay? Tired? Is anyone out there not getting a response? Do I assume that you're not tired? No? You're not tired. Good. Okay, those who are tired are still in bed. I can tell there's quite a lot are because we haven't got the number of people that are here. Anyway, my name is Manda, and it's my pleasure to be with you this morning and to facilitate a very fascinating and an interesting conversation, I hope. And I personally am interested in this conversation. And on the topic too, the topic for our these few days is original effort, original love. And in terms of effort, you know, there is this Hindi word for effort is purusharth. And the literal translation of this word purusharth means that which you do for the sake of the soul. And the English word, I always have this thing go on back in Oxford. Well, what does this word effort mean? Effort has this connotation of hard work and it's strenuous and all of that. Whereas when you think about the word purusharth, it doesn't have that connotation. That which you do for the sake of the soul, for the sake of the self. And that's what we want to talk about this morning. What does it really mean to make effort? What does it mean to stay really focused on the self, to stay connected with the self, whilst we are engaged in so many activities, whether it's service, whether it's logic work, whether it's family, whether it's household chores. There is so much going on for all of us externally, and yet Baba's constant emphasis on how we have to stay focused inside, to be introverted, to stay connected with the self, to observe yourself, to be reflective, all of these things. And this is fascinating for me because I've been in Gyan for about 34 years now. And I have to tell you that it's only in recent years that I have really got to grips with, or even really, I suppose, have this urgency, the sense of urgency within myself to stay completely, totally, and utterly inside myself. And I'm seeing what it is that takes me outside. I'm seeing what it takes to be able to make that original effort for the self, purusharth. And so that's the tack we're going to take this morning. I think that it will be very interesting because we have three very experienced Baba's children here who have been playing very powerful and important roles in service and in sustaining souls, and their own journey also, I think, is a very interesting one. So I'm going to introduce all three of them to begin with, and then I'm going to ask them to share their perspective on what I have just, in a sense, introduced. So first, I'm going to introduce Sister Moira. Sister Moira is originally from Argentina, but also is in charge of Baba's work in Argentina. And I've known Moira from the time she first walked into Baba's house, and that is here in Madhuban, because she was a backpacker and she came into Gyan in Madhuban. She did the course in Madhuban, and I've seen her journey over from that time until now. And I know that Moira's done a lot of work on herself. And so Moira, so that's been how many years? 30 years, Moira? 30 years that Moira's been with Baba and doing that. And she's had lots of tests and she's come out with flying colors. And then Alan. Alan is originally from Holland, but actually currently based in London, in the UK. And he's the integral part of our IT team in London. And I'm absolutely amazed whenever you have a problem and they help you through the problem. Incredibly patient, incredibly patient. I lose it with my own self, let alone walking someone else through the problem that they have. But Alan's got amazing patience, always willing, always ready. So he's involved in Baba's service, but he also has a Lokik job and he also has a wife. So he's juggling with many things. His wife is totally committed to Baba too. So you don't even get the feeling that they're husband and wife, really. You kind of have no sense of that. So that's their spiritual effort. So Alan is also going to share. And then Sister Kala, also someone I've known right from the first time she came to Madhuban, because probably it was my first time at that time too. And Kalaben's also been in Gyan, 34 years, something like that. And Kalaben is a pediatrician by profession. She doesn't practice as a pediatrician anymore. She's in charge of Peace Village in New York, the retreat center that Baba has, as some of you will already know. And again, she has incredible ability to be so soft and so gentle and so loving. And she gets everything done like that. And yet, you know, every step she takes, you can tell that she's connected with herself. So really, I think many different specialities there. So what I would like to do is first of all ask them to share for a few minutes each on how they make their effort, how they stay connected with themselves, and what they consider effort to be. I'm not going to interfere, they're just going to go one after another, and then we'll see how the conversation progresses. Is that okay with you? And then if you have any questions, yeah, please note them down, and then we will take up the questions from you as well. Okay. Thank you. Moira. Oh, sorry. Kalaben was first. Kalaben, go ahead.
So we had agreed that I'll be the first guinea pig. So Om Shanti. Thank you for setting the stage so high and so down to earth also. You know, when I read this title, Original Effort, Original Love, it brought back very beautiful memories of my first few days in Gyan with Baba. And I was just reflecting back, and did I know about effort at that time? Did I think about anything as effort at that time? And I think for the longest time in my Brahmin life, this word effort was kind of almost foreign to me. And of course, we all know why that is so, because we all experience that original love, right? So, and I was again remembering the other word that oftentimes is used for effort, maybe laborious effort so much, not regular effort, in Hindi is mehnat, you know? And Baba always says, it's no mehnat, it's just mohabbat, which is actually the translation for love. And it's a very romantic translation of love, romantic love. So I was remembering how really those were the days of perhaps genuine effort without knowing that you were making that kind of effort. And that was really just experiencing the love and Baba's love. And I think to this day, I kind of, you know, the quality of the soul hasn't changed in the sense that if I have to make laborious effort or like, strict effort or anything more than this natural loving effort, I probably wouldn't be here. And so many times Baba would call me, "You're a very lovely and lucky soul." And I'm now recalling and saying, I never understood it at that moment. And I'm now recalling why he said that, because it's very lucky to be making effort without knowing you're making effort. And that can only happen through that experience of love. And for me now, 35 years later, as I have gotten perhaps, a little bit astray, a little bit diluted, a little bit of, mixture of other kinds of experience as you move along in the spiritual life, I would still say, of course, for me, the only way of making effort is to make effort out of love, in love, for love. And but the challenge now is always to see kind of how you're able to sustain that. And the challenge also is to see how much of that love is pure love, spiritual love, unadulterated love, and to really examine the quality of that love rather than saying that it's not, it's something else. So I think for me the central focus of effort is always, and the barometer for me is always to come back to myself and see, am I doing this in love? And I know when I'm not, and I have to then remind myself, why am I not? Because I am disconnected from the right kind of love that Baba is giving me, offering me, filling me with. And so for me, again, that relationship that Baba offers himself to in that absolute, total, complete love that we all saw last night, that's the image that pulls me back again and again. And what more can I say? The journey continues. It's not to say everything has been easy and smooth. Like I said, that love does waver or get distracted, or the love gets misplaced, or gets a little bit of, mixture of whatever body conscious sanskars or personality traits, all those things come in. But basically, it's always coming back to that pure love, an experience of Baba's pure love at the end of the day. And if I'm not able to do that, I'm not happy with myself, and I know when I'm not.
Great, thanks. I think that you really set the context very nicely about effort with love. Alan.
Om Shanti. I think I more or less agree a little bit in terms of the word effort. When I first got interested, if you like, into spirituality in general, which was before I joined the Brahma Kumaris, my main focus was, what do I need to do to self-improve? I even had the thought I'm going to write a book sometime on this. Unfortunately, never happened. Maybe I still should do it. But what do I need to do to self-improve? And the word effort always has this feeling of seriousness, and I have something against seriousness. If you're serious on the spiritual path, I feel there's something wrong. Because spirituality should bring lightness. Happy people are not serious. So somehow I've internally was able to transform this word to have that connotation to it, but it's something I did the work internally. And obviously when you come to Baba, then it's for me, it wasn't about happiness, it was about amazing, wow. And really being a child after a long time in Baba's lab, and everything goes automatic. You're happy, everything is easy. And for me in particularly, it was very easy because within a few months after coming to Baba, I decided to take a year sabbatical. So, and I wanted to do service. And so that's when we moved to the UK because we wanted to be close to the center of service, if you like, in Europe. And so we moved to the UK, and just not having the worries of work, and just be literally 100% available for service and spending most of the time in the center and hardly any time at home. Things were very, very easy at that time. But then, obviously, you can't stay without work forever, and then the work part came in, and that's when things started to become different, or not so easy. This is where I realized that I really need to make effort. You know, the first bit, Baba helps you a lot, and lots of the things that you experience come from Baba. But then, when I got back into doing work, I realized that I needed to now start doing things myself and not leave everything to Baba, and he's not going to do these things for me forever. And what I realized, and especially now, in particularly now, it's somehow, maybe it's the time, the Iron Age, things getting worse over time. But if I look at my career over time, in the work environment, things have gone worse, worse, worse. Projects in the beginning, for me, were very easy. Now it becomes more and more difficult. And now, in my latest project, things are very, very extreme. And I'll tell you honestly, without Baba, I probably would not have survived. It's that extreme. At the same time, I think for me it's great fortune to be in that position as well. What better way to test yourself, whether you're stable or not? And the important thing that I've sort of tried to incorporate in my daily life as I work or whatever is, why am I doing this? What is the most important thing in my life? And there's only one important thing, nothing else, in whatever it is you're doing. And that is my spiritual journey, my spiritual growth. That's, even if I do my logic work, whatever, how can this be beneficial for my spiritual growth? And it has had a tremendous, how would you say, given me a tremendous insight into where I'm at. And even having Baba along the way all the time, I still see that there's still a lot of work to do. But that insight into where the work needs to be done I could have only seen that if I was in that situation. Otherwise, I would not have seen it. It would have remained a blind spot. And when do you want the blind spot to be revealed? Now, when there's still time to work on it, or at the end, when there's no time left, then all the blind spots will be revealed. So, in a sense, it's a great challenge for me, but at the same time, I see it as a blessing and a great opportunity to work even harder and to remain stable even in these extreme environments. So yeah, that's and the thing is one of the little yuktis I use, because in order to remain stable, the trick is to constantly pay attention. Because in these extreme environments, there's everything around you that pulls you into that situation constantly from all corners. And if you're not alert, you get sucked in. Within a second, you can lose yourself. And it only needs a second to do the wrong thing, say the wrong thing, escalate the thing. So you need to be constantly alert. And that is the internal effort, being alert, constantly alert on the self. And one little yukti is like, here we have like traffic control, right? To sort of, as a reminder, you need to stabilize yourself, let's align with God and these things. But for me, I try to use within my daily life, work environment, everything as a trigger, yeah? One particular one is meetings. Before I go into the meeting, that is a trigger. Before I meet, take that time out. If I go from one room to another, that's a trigger. When I enter the building, that's a trigger. And have these little triggers in your daily life, and it becomes almost like a habit that I need to do this. For meetings now, it's almost automatic. Before I start a meeting, because this is what I learned when I came into Gyan, when we start meetings, we have our minute of silence, and I apply that for myself also in my work environment. And I've been experimenting similarly into that, okay, how do meetings generally go if I don't do this? How do meetings go if I do this, if you see a difference? And once you are alert and you observe and monitor the results of these little internal efforts that you're making, you will see that there are positive results, and that really gives me great, how would you say, internal happiness to see, wait a minute, this really works for me. And it keeps me going in making that internal effort and doing these little things. So.
Thanks, Alan. I think both of these things come together. How do we bring these two together? We'll talk about that in a bit. The love and this attention. If one is without the other, then you're going to lose the balance. So I think it's nice to be able to talk about bringing these two together, so that, you know, we have a balance. So that's great. Thanks, Alan. Moira.
Om Shanti. As Manda said, when I first arrived here, it took like 3 days after I heard 3 classes of the course, and I met Daddy Janki, and she asked me so many questions you don't imagine. I didn't know who she was. I just thought I can trust this little lady. She was not old those days. And she told me, what are you going to do with your life? And I just told her, whatever you tell me. So she said she would send a plan. I was on a world tour. And just to make a long story short, I returned to London and I spent some time there, but I felt that I totally surrendered, and then also I was in locket clothes in Madhuban, so one of the brothers said to Daddy she would look better in white clothes, so Daddy offered me saris, everything I wanted. So I felt like I immediately, instantly surrendered, but it took me a long time then to understand what true surrender meant. And it's been a long journey, and as Kala was saying, it hasn't always been smooth. In fact, I've gone through a lot of different rough moments on my spiritual journey. At the beginning, it was a lot of fun. I just fell in love with the Yagya, Madhuban. I couldn't imagine what it was to live this life
outside of Madhuban. When I went back to Argentina and I saw the center, I thought, I could have only been born there. I wouldn't have been impressed by our center at all. But then I loved it and I joined everything there. And then I realized I tried to be someone I was not. I had Gentiben as my role model, so I wanted to be like Gentiben, and it became very painful to be someone that I was not. So it took me a while to realize and appreciate myself, my role, and I also appreciated very much this life is such a huge opportunity. I felt Baba gave me so many opportunities in service, in many, many ways, to grow, to be with very experienced friends, seniors, and learn from them. But ultimately, I just have to come back home to myself and decide who I want to be and who it is I am. And this is my understanding of effort, is to really focus on my true, sincere interest. And when I'm fully interested in being myself, it isn't so difficult. When Baba says, out of love, like Kala was saying, we can only do this out of love, then it does become easy. But it takes a while to have that inner silence and stillness, to listen to myself and to keep out the voices of expectations, what other people want me to be or what I should be, what is a pakabike, what is not a pakabike. I remember there was a time Ken used to tell me, Moira, you should become like a mother. And I said, you must be kidding. I don't want to be a mother. I decided not to marry. I would not have children. I am 30 in those days when I was in Chile. And he said, well, you know, people need love and care. And I didn't identify with this at all. I thought, internally, I would always call myself, I was always a wild kid. And I love to think I'm a wild soul. So this idea of becoming a mother was like, you know, I had to be tied to a home and tied to a lot of responsibilities and obligations, and I didn't like it at all. But it's what Baba is really turning me into right now, because I realize that what I love most is, or what I want for myself is what Baba wants for me. But I've been working lately on understanding the value of this family. And we went through moments of big crises, lots of clashes, lots of conflicts, internal and within the family, in Argentina, in the region. And I realized that I was very deceived by the family at moments, and I realized I had no love for the Brahmin family. And with my mind, I was, you know, making them distant. So I also realized that I felt lonely, and that you cannot just have this beautiful family in your heart just for free. We need to make our way into souls' hearts, and it's not just any way. So this committed me to very deep and sincere efforts. Being an NC, a lot is projected on us, but also many things that I went through were just signals on the way of things that I needed to change. My personality, the way I understood things. And right now, I feel that I love this family, and I'm able to embrace the family with total acceptance. And this has been my effort, to observe, am I judging? Am I criticizing? Am I able to accept people as they are? So different. We are so different, and that is our beauty. Each one has a different aim. Baba was saying, you're all so loving, but each one has a different aim. He said this last night. And that has taken me to a beautiful space of effort, which has nothing to do with the connotation of, struggling through. Because what I feel is that the changes we have been exposed in the last few years, as a yagya, as a group of friends, is really to grow together, to help each other pass through the difficult moments without comparison, without competition, and in this pure learning that gives so much meaning to my spiritual journey. I have very, very much appreciated the friendship of souls that I have come close, who have come close to me, who have, at moments in which I had no strength to push myself through difficult moments, they were holding me in a way of total acceptance and understanding of what I was going through, because we all go through different phases. So for me, this time, I feel this present time is, as much as we were experiencing Baba's love last night, I call it the golden days of the conference age, in which being together is a privilege, is so much joy. I love going to Peace Village and meeting all the family in the region. I love coming here, it's my home. But I also enjoy the family in Argentina, and I feel that I'm gaining slowly as I also change and accept them and know them. An effort that I'm doing is becoming a better listener. I was not a good listener at all, and I'm enjoying to know people. I traveled now with Maria Adriana, sister I met in Chile many years ago, and I realized I didn't know her. I lived with her, and I didn't know her as much as I'm interested in listening to her story, knowing the things, and understanding her beauty, her value. And this is my present effort, and I realize that the more I change, and it's not difficult, but I really appreciate what you were saying, Alan, about this need of full focus and attention, and a big eye on my aim. I remember once Daddy said we had to fall in love with our efforts, and at that time I was finding my life very hard, so I couldn't really think that I was falling in love with the need that I had to overcome all the difficulties I was going through. But now I realize that it's beautiful to exercise change constantly. So I really feel I'm living the life of my dreams.
Great. Thank you very much, Moira. So let's take this a little further. All three of you, what you've shared is very fascinating and interesting to help us along our journey. But what I'd like to pick up on right now is what both of you brought. I know that for myself, for many, many years, it was exactly how Kalaben described. It was just love of Baba, love of the daddies, love of the family. I loved everything, love of service. And so the effort happened, but it didn't happen in the way that Alan, you were describing, where I could pay attention and I could say, okay, I must do this and I must be aware of this. I didn't do any of that at all. In fact, I only just absorbed all the love and did everything. And so where is this line between bringing these two things together? What happens when the two things come together, this love and this effort, this attention? I don't know if either one of you want to share about it. I think although Moira kind of touched on that as well. So do you want to kind of, well, you can both share about that.
Well, for me, that love was also there in the beginning, and it, like I mentioned,
That's
was
the key thing, in the beginning. What happens?
Yes, very, very much so. That's the key. It was there. Not that it's gone. Yes, so in the beginning, for me, coming into the family, obviously, and I think most of us will experience that love, and that is what kind of carries you. And for me, it was the first year mainly, and after that, slowly, reality, if you like, started to kick in when I started to work again. But I think in internal effort, like I said, that attention, that constant alertness and that attention, I don't think that you can actually do that without the love. Yeah, you cannot. You cannot do it without the love, because otherwise then it becomes serious and the love. Yes, exactly. It becomes mechanical, and there's no meaning behind it. Like I said, one of the main thing, the most important is why am I doing it? I mentioned it's my spiritual growth, but ultimately it's just to be constantly in the love of God, to be constantly in the love of the family. Yeah, to be loved ultimately in essence. Yeah, that when people are in your presence, that's what they experience. And I have had glimpses of it, and I think that is one of the things that really keeps me going. Is yes, you can make all that internal effort, and this is my aim, but unless you can see that there are any results, yeah, it becomes very hard. Doing any constant work, constant treading, without the feeling that you're actually moving forward is very hard. But this is one of the areas where you need that attention, where you need that alertness, and not only attention in the sense that am I actually making the effort, but also attention in observing around you. What are the effects that I have, that my internal effort has on me and on the people around me? And I have lots of stories I can share. Maybe later I can share some of these stories which really made me very enthusiastic about my effort and more attention, because you see these results. But you have to be very observant, because some of these results are very subtle, and so you need to be very alert to grasp them as well.
Okay, Kalaben, thank you.
And I suppose for me too, I think that attention was also there in terms of being a natural attention, and that's what I can relate that word attention to is really paying attention to Baba's words was very important and very natural for me in the sense that there were many things that I would be drawn to, the attention would be drawn to in a natural way, just because Baba says it's so, in the Murli, for example, or, I heard it though. So I think that was something that was also part of the loveful effort. The way in which Baba makes us make effort is so natural, in the sense that he gives us all the elements, starting from morning to night, all the times and the places and the events where we should be paying attention to. If we do it according to what he's telling us to, you're naturally paying attention to it. Especially if you're not doing it as an external thing, but if you're doing it as an internal thing. And I think I agree with Alan that, there are many things that are outside playing out in the drama that are kind of telling you, and if you're not paying attention, you're not picking them up until you actually say, I'm going to pay conscious attention to this. And so that's happened through my life too. Many things that you didn't even know that you had those kind of, blind spots, for example, or, whatever. And so when you are consciously aware that you're on this journey moving up, and And it's just because you find out something about yourself, it doesn't mean that it's something terrible, but the context that Baba has laid out for us is so loving that I want to see you complete. I want to see you without any defects, for example. So for me, that landscape of love never got lost, in terms of picking up and paying the attention to what I have to pick up. So I think that's how I would put the two together, that, yes, of course there is, this great amount of love, but at the same time, because of that love, you're also being drawn to a lot of things, the attention is being drawn to a lot of things that you need to either get rid of, or you need to inculcate, or you need to become better in, or whatever it is. So I see the two coming together very nicely too, actually. It doesn't have to be a harsh, forceful attention kind of thing.
I like this notion of landscape of love, that at the back of your mind, whatever you do, if the impetus is love, not because I have to, not because I need to, not because I should, not because I ought to, not because it's expected of me, but this landscape of love enables whatever it is that needs to happen in the way that it ought to. Do you want to add something to that? I like the words that you used, Moira, being in love with effort. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit? Because I think this is these are key elements, because then I want to move on to what effort, what are the things that we can adopt, but to fully milk this.
Whilst I was listening to what they were sharing, I was thinking that there's also a part of the journey that we confuse love with so many things. We come to Baba with an idea of love, and of course we're all born in a cradle of love, which is what awakens us and gives us that deep, deep feeling of belonging. And this is why we're here. But also, it takes a while to realize so many things we called love are really attachment. And for me, it's been very important to bring me back again and again that I have put my life in God's hands, not in the hands of individuals. And then this brings me back to many times, sometimes Baba says, experience the days of your childhood, but yesterday when Baba was, the way he is repeating again and again, and he is affirming and giving us the guarantee that I am loved by God. We're getting used to hearing him telling us this, and we would probably wonder, why is he repeating it again and again? I think this has been the most difficult thing to accept, that we are fully worthy of his love, and that we don't need to prove anything. We don't need to prove anything to anyone, which is in the game of ego that we do. We try to prove ourselves. And last night I had such a powerful experience. Baba said it so many times, but one of those times, it's as if it became so clear to me that exactly those words and that feeling that I was experiencing at that time was what triggered my search. When I started searching, my two questions that brought me here was, what is the meaning of life? And what is true love? And I connected the last night's moment to that time of the cycle that I will, go out in this very deep search. And I just felt I need to just allow Baba to love me and just keep myself so open so that this shower of love, God himself telling me how much and no matter what, he loves me. I thought, this is teaching me so much. It's taking me out of the rational and, of thinking, what is it I need to do to experience love? It's just there. And maybe what I could do is stop thinking about it and allowing just the heart to feel it. I can see how much silence is this wonderful space of exploration for this too.
Did you want to add something, Alan?
Yeah, actually, she started already giving me the answer, because I had a little bit of a question about this to the both of you, is that I think one of the things in our spiritual life that allows us to make the effort is love. Love is really a major, if not the major, source of power that allows us to do the things that we need to do. Even in our making the spiritual effort, is because of love. And I feel that certain things, if we cannot bring doing that, certain efforts that we know we have to make or we have to do, or there's some internal transformation that is not really taking place whilst I'm seeing it, and I somehow cannot bring myself into transforming the sanskar or whatever it is you want to call it, I often notice it's a lack of power. And love, I think, brings that power that allows you to bring about that internal transformation. And sometimes I feel I lack it. I lack the power to, and thus maybe the love, the experience of love, as Sister Moira well said, to bring about that transformation. So how do we, and you said it also, how do we keep that landscape of love in the back of our mind? How can I maintain that? So I would like from you maybe give me some tips in terms of how can I increase or maintain that love so I can have the power of bringing these things that I know have to change but just seem to lack the power.
I think Moira has alluded to it already in terms of what happened last night, how Baba just made it so visibly apparent and repetitively kind of reinforcing that feeling, even though it was through words. But I think he really was, he did what he did very well. But I think for me, I begin to see that the completeness of the life that Baba is giving us as love, in terms of whatever it is that he has not only given us knowledge of, but also given us an experience of, and also given us directions for, for example, all of that I see as his love, and so I just feel overwhelmed sometimes by, seeing, he hasn't left out anything. Anything that the soul and the body and the mind need, Baba has provided and continues to provide and continues to promise us. So I think it's to be able to catch Baba's love that we can actually invoke or emerge the love from inside. And many times we are so caught up into the routine of things and getting things done, and I'm speaking for myself actually, that we don't take that moment to appreciate the beauty of that moment or the gift of that moment. And even if it doesn't come from Baba directly, but it's there, it's staring you in the face and you're just kind of brushing it past. And so I think it's this pace of love, the pace of life that we have created, even in spiritual terms. I think for me that's a big hindrance in keeping the love alive all the time. Getting caught into the immediateness of things and the importance of things as they seem in the physical world takes away the magnitude of Baba's love and the what he's really trying to make out of it. So I think for me, it's really keeping that noise, the clutter, the busyness, the wanting to get something accomplished immediately or whatever else it may be. But it's kind of taking away from that real experience. And I have to remind myself again and again, but wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. So this pause and traffic control even has become so routine sometimes that you need to really invent new method of pausing and using little slogans for yourself or images for yourself or something like that. And one of the things I picked up recently was seeing with heart. Seeing with heart was something that's very attractive to me, in the sense that we always, especially in the role that I play many times, it should have been like this, it should have been like that, it should have been like this, but I have to let that be and just see whatever has to, is happening in front of my eyes with love. So I think it's a constant reminder to the self, not only for people out in the world there, but also for us who are here in this family and interacting a lot with each other and making a lot of plans and so on and so forth.
I think in terms of the subject of love and Baba's love, there is also the aspect of the love that I have for my own self. Now it's a cliche language these days, loving yourself. I don't mean it in that way. We also have to rise to the potential of love that's inside our own selves, so that when we do something, it comes for, again, as I already said, not shoulds and ought tos and have tos and musts. So really all of that has to go at the end of the day. So then there's this aspect of love for the self, or self-love, not even for the self, self-love. And I think this self-love thing is a key thing in order to be able to pay attention or be in love with effort or be in love with attention. So I don't know if anybody wants to address that, but the other thing I want to introduce here is this whole aspect of observing the self. And I think these two go together. Self-love and observing of the self go together. I remember something that I heard from Anthony Strano years ago, which really stayed with me, and that was that a true effort maker, or an honest effort maker, is always observing the self. Always. It's like when you're about to do something, you catch yourself doing something, you're seeing something, you catch yourself seeing what you're seeing. In this way. So I think these two elements are also very important. This honesty towards one's own self, and self-love. Do you want to comment on that?
Just a quick thing, actually I had meant to bring this up too. Again, this happened very in the beginning of my Brahman life, and I remember those moments of, and I think now that you're bringing it as self-love, I would probably kind of connect with that. And just this beautiful feeling of finding a space inside of you that you had never known existed, and which is so beautiful and so, lovely. And it's about yourself, and it's not connected or, it's not conditional to anything. It's just there, waiting. So I think to be able to get to that place, I think is what perhaps could emerge that self-love, that this is who I truly, truly am. And these are all the treasures I hold. And of course that connects with, love with Baba. And many times we forget the original feeling of what I felt and connect it to Baba's love. But it's really also what Baba is introducing to ourselves, that this is who you are. And I love Baba because of that, because when he says, I am who I am because I've done so much, and I've made you like me. So I really appreciate that, everything that we attribute to him, he's also made us realize that about ourselves too. And I think that's where self-love actually, you know, originates from, to finding that place.
And I just want to say that I think it's nice that you clarify this thing of self-love is what Baba is seeing in me. It's not about, if I was to talk about myself, it's not that I love Manda so much. I can see 110 things that Manda has to change. So it's not about loving the self as I am now. It's about seeing what Baba sees in me, and original love, original effort is what we're talking about, an original love. So it's about the soul, and about the soul that has found God. It's about the soul that has been round the cycle. It's about the soul that is here, present on world service. So I just want to bring that into it as well. And I don't know if any of you want to comment on that, both of those aspects, honesty and self-love.
I find that the more I observe myself, it gives me so, on one hand, I become very aware of the things that I need to change, but also my own inner beauty. And I realize it takes me deeper into a sense of freedom. The more I am connected with myself, the less I expect from others. And this is where the game of acceptance, I'm not deceived, and I'm able to accept, and I'm able to appreciate as well, because I don't want anything. I find that true, honest effort engages us to such an extent that we kind of let go of this neediness that comes from being careless with the self. We start expecting things from people, situations, we become very result-oriented, and then we fluctuate, because if things go well, we go up, and if not, we go down. But it's like being, again, I come back to this. In order to be observing myself, I need a lot of silence and solitude to really, really see the subtle games of ego and understand that I am not, and to appreciate what Baba sees in me. I have recently come back to Baba's first, one of the blessings that he gave us in the personal meetings, and Baba said, "You are very good in courage." And I didn't understand that for a long time, and I am very courageous, and now I realize I need to use this to go deeper into myself, because I was seeing courage more at the level of doing and coming and going and doing, different things maybe in the field of service. But it takes a lot of courage to accept how great we are. And so I'm grateful for Baba showing that energy in me to myself, no? And something I wanted to share is in a silence retreat we were with Sister Mohini in Peace Village. She said something very interesting right at the beginning. It was a 6-day silence retreat, and she said, we have to stop processing and give time to practicing. And I thought this was because when you look at yourself, you could go into a game of just processing feelings, and it's very tiring. It wears us out, and it doesn't take us very far. And Mohini Ben is coming across, he said it the other day as well, is the game of emerging the original love. And I find this is my interest now. She said, because your emotions are coming from sanskars and you believe them to be yours. And she said, silence will take us beyond these feelings. And I find that this is my interest now, this is my effort, like, what is it like to be right beyond? And it's about emerging the original awareness.
Do you want to share something before I introduce?
I think drama has lots of signals. In terms of making honest effort or catching yourself when you're doing something wrong or shouldn't be doing, and that to maintain that awareness, I think we have enough information to know that. One simple information is, are we feeling comfortable or not comfortable, if there's any form of discomfort in the self, that by itself is a signal that something needs to change. Something is not right, something has to be put right. Is there any form of pain or emotional suffering? Any form of discomfort is a signal. And I know in the early days especially, and even Daddy used to do that when see you're in too comfortable and trying to take you out in that out of that comfort zone. Yeah, because once you're in that comfort zone, there is no need for transformation. Why would you change if you're comfortable? So that is one thing, and I noticed this as soon as and experimented with that, is as soon as you challenge that and you say, okay, it's not very comfortable, but I still do what needs to be done, then the situation automatically changes. And so I think there are lots of opportunities, lots of signals that tell us that this is one area that you need to change. You need to make effort.
अपने सुकर्मों के बल पर ही सतयुग में तुमको आना है। शिव पिता को अब याद करो। ये संगम का स्वर्णिम युग है, शिव पिता फिर से आया है।
ब्रह्मामुख से शिव बाबा ने वही गीता ज्ञान सुनाया है।
कलयुग का अंत अब आया है, विकराल विनाश खड़ा आगे।
अब हम सबको शिव पिता ने बतलाया है।
शिव पिता को अब याद करो। पांडव शिव शक्ति सेना की रणभेरी अब फिर बजती है।
शिव बाबा के ज्ञान से फिर माया को मार भगाना है।
शिव पिता को अब याद करो, सतयुग में तुमको आना है। शिव पिता को अब याद करो, मुक्ति धाम तुम्हें जाना है। अपने सुकर्मों के बल पर ही सतयुग में अब तुम्हें आना है। सतयुग में अब तुम्हें आना है।
धाम में तुम्हें जाना है।
Just a couple of more things I just wanted to mention about this thing about honesty. And one thing I find, it's great that Alan brought these signs of, what happens when you're not honest. And just that honesty, I find, is a great incentive to continue to deepen the level of effort. Because when you lack that, you come to almost like a standstill, or you don't know what you're supposed to do, or you're doing things but you're not really getting much out of it. So it becomes more of a routine effort. So I think this thing of honesty is really good to really keep that incentive for deeper efforts going also. And also the whole thing about how when I really want to be honest, even if I can't see, what honestly is happening to me, but Baba helps in so many ways. So I think it really draws Baba's blessing and Baba's help, when we are honest.
So the last question, do you adopt methods? Is there something that you do that helps you stay connected with yourself? For instance, one of the things, those of you who know me will say, here she goes again. And one of the things that I've started to do is journaling. I journal. And I had never realized the power of it. When I first started doing it, it was almost like I was looking at myself as I was doing things, because I knew at the end of the day I'd be recording what I was feeling, what I was seeing, and it was amazing. And I find that really it helps me stay deep inside myself. So are there methods that you adopt whereby you are staying connected, you're on a journey and you don't go astray? I know when my emotions are about to go astray, I can catch myself just like that. Sometimes I let them, that doesn't mean that but I know that they're going, and I will know I'm wrong if I'm doing something wrong. Or sometimes I'll catch myself with some things and I won't let myself go there. So are there methods that you have that would help people here?
One of the methods I used, and I mentioned it when I first started, is use little triggers. And one of the triggers I use is doors. Doors, yes. I tell you why doors. Because doors are a gateway, if you like, to a new, different environment. So basically, when you move through a door, you basically move from one environment to another environment, and each environment has its own vibrations and its own atmosphere. And if I don't pay attention, I can easily be influenced by the atmosphere. You probably all experienced it when you enter a room where people have been having a fight or an argument, and even if there's silence, you can feel it. You can feel the tension. And this is one of the things I use. So I must admit, I've not been practiced as much as I used to, but still very much try when I think about it. Is that when I enter a new room, before the door, I just stand still for a moment. Just a moment, stabilize. It's almost like a mini traffic control of a few seconds. And then with stabilizing yourself as I'm a soul and all of that, but with the intention that when I enter this new environment, that I am not being influenced by that environment, but when I enter that environment, I influence that environment in a positive way. And I have experimented this with this a lot in the past. And if you're really consistent with it, and if you're really observant, especially if it's a repeated environment like my office, you'll see amazing results.
Great, I like that. I like that a lot, actually. It's a very good one. Kalaban, do you have one that you'd like to share? And then you, Moira? My time is moving fast.
I'm not sure if it's such a concrete or discrete thing, but something that I've been doing lately is really checking for what are the extras I'm carrying in my head, you know, like, and I've found that, you know, there's so much stuff that I think and say that are not necessary, or that are kind of taking away from, you know, my original thoughts and feelings. So I think a little more attention on what's original and what's not. You know, just, you know, and I call that extra. It's not necessarily negative, it's not necessarily even waste, but it's definitely extra, and it's definitely going to show up somewhere along the way and prevent me from being my complete self. So I think that's something. And I appreciate your comment on the journaling, because I've done that in the past too. And really, I think I'm inspired now again. So thank you, thank you.
Yeah, you have to start. It's a whole ceremony.
It's
you have to do again around journaling. It's amazing.
It's a very beautiful exercise. Yeah, it's very rewarding and very powerful.
Moira.
Yeah, I also feel inspired by your journaling. Maybe you have to tell us a little bit further. But I for a long time in the past, I used to write to Baba, then I stopped doing it, and I've started doing it again. But, so every day I write a little bit. But what I keep checking all the time is, am I responding or reacting? You know, this is something and also, like when I see things, and I see my mind drifting into an opinion, and I keep telling myself, you don't need to have an opinion about this. Just accept, it's okay. And it's like I'm training my mind to go with the flow. And I find this a very entertaining game. It's very beautiful. But I would like to go further into the journaling, because I know it's a method of growing deeply and fast. So we can have a chat about that later.
Great, yeah, we can definitely have a chat about that. Okay, time's running out very fast. Does anybody quickly want to say something? Yeah, here's a microphone. Yeah.
Om Shanti, thank you very much for that. Baba talks about contentment a lot, and I'm very interested to hear what any of you say about the difference between contentment, feeling comfortable about where you're at, and comfort zone. Three, you know, I mean, what is the difference? Tricky.
Baba's first blessing to me, he asked me, he said, are you the one who always remembers Baba, or who remains under the canopy of protection? And so I looked at Baba and I said, I knew my yoga was very fluctuating, so I said, Baba, I'm the one who always remains under the canopy of protection. I didn't say I'm the one who always is in remembrance. So Baba said, the one who always remembers is kept under the canopy of protection. And then he said, you are a jewel of contentment. And he said, contentment is the way to move forward and the way to help others move forward. And I couldn't really understand what being a jewel of contentment meant. But for me, contentment now is when I'm happy and satisfied with myself, and it has nothing to do with anything coming from others or the result of things. And I have to be very careful, but I really like to know that I'm living inside out rather than from, you know, results of things. So, and it's quite different, because that makes me very happy. It has to do with who I am, what I am. Whereas a comfort zone would be an ego game where I become careless and I become stuck. And ego has such beautiful faces too. It disguises us, no? And we think we're doing fine, as Alan was saying. So I find that it's quite different when we are contented, when we are complacent. I don't know if this word in English exists, but in Spanish it's when I just please myself with thinking that I'm fine, but I'm really not, and it's just my dishonesty.
I always see contentment as a kind of energy, you know. Contentment has that kind of energy to either move forward or to make others move forward or do something with it, you know. And I see that it's unlimited. It doesn't have, even if you say there's a contentment zone, that it's an unlimited zone. Whereas for comfort, I think of it more as a physical thing, you know, more as a comfort that arises from a physical setting or a physical happening or something like that. And so not necessarily anytime you're comfortable that you're content, I think. But when you're content, you're usually comfortable.
Also, I was thinking that comfort zone would be you surround yourself with what you prefer, your boundaries, your limitations, in terms of not just physical space, but what you can manage. You surround yourself with that. And then contentment actually is a deeper virtue, a deeper value. It's a spiritual quality. Whatever there is, however it is, it's okay. And I can work with that. And then to be comfortable inside yourself, and that comfortable space is where I make peace with everything. I make peace with it, then I'm comfortable. And then when I'm comfortable, then I can be content. I can begin the journey of making myself content, I think. Anyone else want to ask something? Sabrina? Or comment, really. But, yeah.
Shanti. Hermana Moira, ¿lo puede traducir por favor al inglés? Es una pregunta de un churning que surgió entre nosotros, y es, Baba es por ejemplo, ayer el encuentro, ¿no? Cuando está Baba allí, ¿eso, el simple hecho de que Baba baje, me ayuda? ¿O yo tengo que hacer el esfuerzo de estar en la frecuencia correcta para tomar beneficio de la energía de Baba?
He wants to know is, in yesterday's meeting, so this thought came and they were sharing this, is it that just the fact that Baba comes that helps me already, or do I have to move into a frequency where Baba is so that I can benefit from his presence?
Well, I would say definitely you have to move into the frequency. You have to, it's like a radio, and if you have a radio, then you have to tune in to be able to catch, whatever is playing at whichever station. If you're at, point 95 and you're tuning into point 2000 or 200, then you're not going to be able to catch. So definitely we have to do our own inner work and preparations to be able to catch where Baba is at. Definitely. Anyone else? Yeah, one last question before we go, or comment even?
Om Shanti. Baba talks about intense effort making. So for the new ones who are just arriving, first comers, what would you tell them to, gallop that gap of 30 years, 34 years?
Go ahead, Kalaben, Moira, whoever wants to.
I think for me, intense actually is more to do with quality and also with the consistency of effort more than anything else. And quality is obviously, all the things we've talked about in terms of that internal attention, the honesty, being able to of course put in your effort, but also draw help from Baba. And consistency, of course, is no matter what, that kind of thing, that always moving ahead with the aim in your mind, and again, never ever losing the love for effort.
Great, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for your honesty, openness, and authenticity. Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming.